I feel like live service players must be the most ungrateful video game fans in the business. The stuff I am seeing from the Diablo 4 fan base has to be some of the most excruciating, whiny stuff that I have seen maybe since the Division 2 debacle, but this is on a bigger scale because this feels like this is about the entire game of Diablo 4. And to some degree, I get it. Your characters that you are so beloved, that you worked on, they are nerfed. But I also feel like you must be new to this. Like you guys have not done loot-based stuff before where you have to grind and get and deal with balance issues. Like this must be a huge thing. Because here's and you guys can come from a different perspective, but I at least want to set it up this way. The thing that I'm seeing, it's not necessarily just the whininess about the nerfs and all the other nerfed things. I can understand why you'd be a little annoyed at the nerfs. But Blizzard and crew are trying to balance the game for longevity's sake, because one of the biggest criticisms that we've seen for Diablo 4 is that the end game isn't good enough. It's not satisfying enough. Oh, I destroyed the capstone dungeons. So they're trying to fix that. Now, yes, it seems like in this case, they're just ripping the Band-Aid off and going, we need to like nerf all these things, switch all these things, change these things. And a lot of it is negative. I get why businesses tend to go, let's not nerf, let's buff. But Diablo, or the Blizzard team, has seen the numbers. They know how the players are playing. They're seeing all the data all the players do not see. They know how the players are playing, and they're going, we see the writing on the wall. If we don't nerf all these things and instead buff all of these things, we're going to create an unstoppable power creep that we cannot recover from. Not only that, they're also thinking about the season that just started, and you have to start a new character anyway. So if you're interested in doing the new season, then the character that you've been playing as, whatever. You're starting a new character and you're starting it from scratch. So all these little patch things, you don't have to deal with it unless you're dealing with it with your current character that you've done the story with. So I just don't get the vitriol thrown at the developers over this, to the point where they probably already planned it, but they have an emergency patch discussion happening tomorrow as of this date. This is July 20th as we're recording this. And I just have to ask you guys, could this be solved if the video game industry as a whole, and mostly for live service games, were even more transparent about the vision for their game, the point of their game, what they're trying to achieve with a game? Do you think it would be even more helpful to the general public to understand situations like Diablo 4's latest patch? Go ahead. Anybody step in.
Oh, I'll go first. Hey guys, this is your, the Diablo player's first time, feeling this way. Hey, it's okay. Destiny players have been this way for a year or so now.
I was going to say, this can't be the first time you felt this.
Oh no, we've got angry, directly messaging community managers and developers on Twitter with death threats. That's just part of our culture, apparently.
Heck, you have gear that gets literally taken out of the game. It's not even nerfed, it just ain't there.
That is so true.
Like,
you've had an entire game vaulted.
And here we are, we're the old people. It's like, as you were talking, I just couldn't help but think of the meme of
the James Franco
when it's like first time. Like, it's really so evident. But to I guess simplify and answer your question, no, that's kind of why Bungie has did a 180 on communicating with the fan base. they were one of the most, I guess, progressive studios in being transparent with having CMs directly responding to questions and reasoning and thought processes and kind of addressing the feedback from not only the team but also other players. And after, months and years of death threats and Twitter aggression, they've stopped. They used to be very detailed in their balance changes and patch notes, very long and explanatory. Now it's nothing like that. And it's because the community has done that to themselves by, I hate to use the word immature, but it kind of feels that way. It's not going to help with them being more transparent because, one, us as players have no idea what goes on behind the scenes, like you said, with the numbers and things like that. And two, it's their game. They have a vision and a way that they want to do things that it doesn't really matter what we think. We can give feedback, but at the end of the day, it's their decision on whether they act on it. Um, and you said two words, Anthony, that I want to kind of, I guess, finalize my first thoughts on this. Trivialize and power creep. Two words that the average complainer online does not know about. When you have these really broken builds, yes, they're fun, they're great, but they trivialize content. And you get through with everything, and then you're like, what? I need more to do. Like you said, there's no end game. When that content is trivialized, it really slows down not only longevity of the game, but also, I think, flexibility and playstyles because you're just going to do that one build. Which comes to my second term, power creep. When you have all those things at that, or if you have that one build at that very high level, if you buff everything else to that level, the game will get stale and you're just going to have to continually buff and buff and buff. And it's just going to cause power creep, which a lot of players don't understand. And that's not good for games, especially live service. It really isn't. So, no, they don't need to be more transparent because it will not work. They can try to be nice and cordial and say why they did stuff, but being more transparent won't work. I've seen it in the Destiny community, and now they shut the door on the community and said, you guys have done this to yourselves. So
It's it's interesting you say that because I feel like I was leaning towards that is probably the case. Being transparent is not the answer, but I don't know if anyone has gotten so transparent to the point where people truly understand what the developers are trying to achieve as they make their game. If any developer or publisher has done that, okay, then I will stand corrected. But I don't know of any live service game that exists right now where, let's say, a Diablo 4 situation like this, where they're gonna literally say, this is everything we're aiming for, and this is why we are doing the things. They had a few notes within the patch notes to kind of prime players as they read the notes, but it's still nothing exhaustive. And I feel like maybe if they were a bit more exhaustive in their explanation, maybe they don't have to do it in notes. I don't know. Maybe patch notes need to become videos instead of just a bullet point list of stuff with a few developer comments here and there. But I wonder if they were truly transparent in that way, could it work?
I don't think so. Like the more transparent you get, like I think I go back to Bungie. They were the most transparent, I think, of any studio. They used to have the live streams where they would bring devs on, discuss the new content, discuss patches, buffs, all
Mm.
the new stuff. They stopped doing that because of harassment. They used to have engineers, designers, the dev team, not just PR or execs, but dev team come in and explain why they did certain changes from a technical standpoint alongside a balance standpoint. Because there are some balance changes and patches that happen not because they want to change a certain thing, just for the fact of this thing was broken and they need to fix
Sure.
it. Um,
Yeah.
they did that, and nobody understood it because it's technical lingo, and it didn't help the situation, and they still got harassed. Um,
So I
and
guess it's just one of those situations where these people aren't necessarily prepared to be able to communicate these things in a way for the general public to understand. So it comes out as technical jargon. And what it becomes is more ammo for the community to dump on the developers over because they don't understand it. And so they're just going to keep questioning and whining about things. Is that correct?
oh, very much so. When the community doesn't understand something, they don't like it, and instead of accepting it and moving forward and just playing the game, they get the internet discourse behind the keyboard, and I think the minority of people who do that um, drive a lot of drive the wedge between devs, CMs, and the consumers. So,
Yeah,
because
this okay, so that just feels like a larger problem with people where you want to complain, but you don't want to understand. I can't stand that. It's one of the most annoying things. I have a perfect example. Just yesterday, at work, I work with kids, and they play soccer indoors on a gym floor, gymnasium, basketball court, and they use a soccer ball. That obviously it's meant for a field. It's very bouncy on a gymnasium floor. So they told me, yeah, this it's too bouncy, it's too hard to control. Great, okay, fine, I'll fix that. And I bought them a futsal ball. Futsal balls don't bounce as much, like hardly ever. It's kind of fascinating how those things work. So I got them that, and just yesterday they almost had a mutiny. They're like, we're not playing soccer with this ball. Why? Well, I went in there and I'm like, you guys asked for this ball. You wanted something less bouncy. I gave you something less bouncy. Y'all are playing with this ball. This is what you asked for. I gave it to you, and now you're going to refuse to play? They played and still had fun. But then I realized they later told me the ball is too small. I guess futsal balls, they come like a size smaller than regulation soccer balls. So I told them, I'm like, this is what professional futsal players use. It's not like some youth size ball. I'm not trying to treat y'all like you're young children. These were the older kids. But they still wanted what they wanted, right? Like, so, like, at the end of the day,
it goes hand in hand.
they didn't care. They were just like, we want a bigger ball. I'm sorry, I can't give you both. Like, so you're either going to have this thing or the other thing. Those people who cannot be satisfied, I'm like, no, I'm just going to do my thing. And you're either going to like it or you're not going to like it. More than likely, you're either going to play soccer or you're not. You're either play Diablo 4 or you're not, based on these changes. We'll see how much you actually like the game. They're not trying to test the community in that way. But for all the people who are complaining, like, what do you actually care about? Do you actually enjoy Diablo 4?
Bro, we are less than what? Oh, we're not even a couple of days into this patch. Everyone's still leveling up. We don't know what kind of buffs that they've added in along with the few nerfs. They buffed a lot. So you could come out of this patch being stronger than you were before.
Well, it's all about my favorite character, all the builds that I looked up on YouTube that are the most powerful. They're not the most powerful anymore. And with developers, I know I haven't really said a lot on this. I agree with Noah's point of I don't think I don't think increased transparency helps, because this is a you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't kind of position that most developers find themselves in. It lessen a little bit, yes, but most of the people who are going to be mad are going to be mad whether you tell them why or not. Um, that's just the point of it. As Noah and I worked at GameStop, we used to put up signs for buy two get one free events in the sections. We would tell everybody as they walked in, it's buy two get one free. Guess what happened all the time? People came up with 2 games that they picked
That's
up off
it.
the wall, and I looked at them and said, "There's one free." Oh, so they totally missed the fact that we told them it, and then they totally missed the fact that in front of them was a big honking sign in the section and all over the store. Like, it wasn't like you could miss it. You can put all the information out there that you want. People are just going to ignore it and think what they want to think. That's just how it goes. So I don't know that it hurts to give more transparency, but I don't know that it really helps.
So now we're at the point where we're going to figure out and learn and see if running a live service game and hardly communicating can coexist. Because that's the point we're headed to.
Yep.
Diablo's going to learn their lesson. Overwatch is going to learn their lesson. Blizzard in general is going to learn their lesson. Apparently, Bungie has learned their lesson. Now we're going to see, can a live service exist while not communicating with the fan base? Because that's what live service has been based on for a long time. You are communicating with us and we're listening, and you guys are helping us build this thing. We're Defiant, from the start, they were like, you're helping us build this game. Okay. We'll see how long that lasts.
It's literally gonna it's part of what the whole conversation of we're listening. We're always listening. We're just not gonna tell you anything more. We're gonna drop out patch notes. Just know that we're listening, and that's all you get. And the community has no one to blame but themselves, because they're the reason that it got this bad. So
Well, Diablo 4 is just starting, so we'll see. This will be an interesting thing to watch about how many of these live streams they're going to do and whatnot.
yeah, I'm curious to see how long they keep this whole live stream addressing player feedback stuff up, because they better have a lot of mods in their chat and a lot of banned words. So
Yeah. All right. Well, let's spin the wheel, shall we?
it's currently a review in progress. I'm actually teaming up with another fellow on the gaming trend staff, Adam. Ron's kind of playing piggyback just because I think he wants to play it. I think that's a lot of it. But yeah, so current impressions of Exoprimal are a little bit better than my initial thoughts overall. To give you guys an idea, the baseline story, do not take it seriously. It does not take itself seriously with the dialogue and characters. So the premise, if you can wrap your guys' heads around this, you're a silent exopilot who becomes part of the squad, the Hammerheads, which they have named themselves. You're patrolling around this island that you've done 100 of times, and all of a sudden, boom, you crash land. Your Ace, your main character, gets teleported 3 years in the past on that specific island to participate in war games where hordes of dinosaurs fall out of these magic portals, and it's an AI. I'm trying to say this without laughing. An AI named Leviathan is testing your skills against dinosaurs. Why? Because it's an AI who likes watching exo fighters fight dinosaurs.
This is the future we have to look forward to.
Yeah, it it does not take itself seriously in dialogue, character interactions,
I feel like
camera
wacky is
angles.
a good descriptor.
Cringe, I think, is a better word, to be honest. Like, just some of the lines are straight out of frat boy conversations who think they're funny with these witty jokes, but no one's
This
laughing.
this is PS2 Capcom era.
Yeah. And one cool thing I do want to give them props to in terms of story is they break it up in terms of, you find out, because there's this whole mystery about the island, this AI, and it almost like a mechanical lock. There are pieces that slowly unlock, and they give you some dialogue, some lore, and stuff as you progress and do your runs. Because the main loop of the game is you load in and you fight. You're on a team of 5. You fight off waves of dinosaurs doing different objectives like escort a payload, protect a point, stuff like that. And as you do more runs, slowly things start getting more in depth. You start learning more lore bits, character interactions, uh, things like that. So that is kind of cool, in my opinion. I like the, kind of like a murder mystery where a little piece of the puzzle gets solved every now and then. Gameplay wise, it's fun. It When you're in the middle of fighting off these, hundreds of dinosaurs, it can get very hectic. But I just don't know in terms of like longevity, because from what I've seen, it appears to have a battle pass. I don't know if this is meant to be like seasonal, like additions, like DLC or not. I don't
No.
know what you could do to add to that.
I mean,
I could be
More
wrong.
dinosaurs.
like it's very obviously supposed to be something because you've got like assault, tank, and support. Like,
Yeah, so
classes.
you've got 3 different classes, and you have basically a dips, tank, and support. Each one, it's very. I saw someone
This
compare
is
it to
what
like
Overwatch is
Overwatch.
about to become.
Yeah, it's very over. Like, there are some characters, like the character I'm playing right now is almost like the Genji kit. There is a Junkrat kitted character. There is a soldier kitted. It's nothing that, if you've played a hero shooter before, you're going to recognize a lot of these
It's
abilities.
the archetypes, yeah.
Yeah. It's nothing like out of the, out of left field. Where like, oh, I've never seen this kind of build before. It's all pretty standard hero shooter kits. Um, the one thing that, especially in the gameplay, that I'm concerned of is it's there's not a lot of map variety. You're loading into these generic city locations and you're running the exact same routes on the 3 to 4 maps. Very repetitive. Um, very repetitive, especially when you're running the same routes. I'll be like, at least swap up the routes a lot more. But when you have characters who, before you even go to the next destination, because you'll go to one area, defend the point, go to another area, kill dinosaurs. It's when people are preparing this early on in the game's life, they already know which path to run. You've got too few paths, like, coordinated. But it can get kind of hectic at times. The game's not too hard. Like, I've yet to really struggle, as I say that as I die, where I'm having to really think about, coordinating with my team. Like, it's basically, if you have one healer who is at least halfway decent, you don't really have to coordinate with anything. You can kind of do whatever you want.
Oh, I'm sorry. This whole time, this is a team game.
Yeah. Like I said, you load in with 5 people.
Oh.
So, yeah.
Somehow I missed that.
It's
Oh
on
my
Game
God.
Pass as well.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yep. And it's online. If you don't have enough to fill, they do implement bots. The bots, it's hit or miss. You'll have one homie who is out here rezzing your team. He's healing, he's shooting, he's doing everything. And I had a couple of bots that were running the other way. Like, I don't know if they got coded in wrong. They were running away. So some of the matches you play I guess it's just your team where you're trying to complete objectives. It's just your team. There's another mode where you are actually racing another team of 5 to complete the objective as fast as possible. So it's kind of a PvEVP mode. And this is kind of like the one, I guess, catch up mechanic that the game has. There's not a catch up mechanic really. I wish there was. But once per match, if you want to call it that, you can actually summon a dinosaur and take control of it and use it to attack the enemy team. That will either wreck your team or you will be like me and none of the hits register and you're just
That
getting
was awful in the tutorial.
beamed.
At least I felt like that, yeah.
Yeah, the hit registration when you're the big, you can either, so far I've only been able to do the Triceratops and T-Rex. Hit registration on those things are horrible.
Is it one of those situations where you have to have your gun cursor over the enemy for it to affect, so it really doesn't take into account the size of your body?
There's
no cursor.
Yeah,
no.
You're literally just
you're guessing.
You're aiming and hoping. That is what you're doing.
Oh my gosh!
The tutorial actually took a lot longer for me because I couldn't make the T-Rex hit the person, even though it seemed like it should work.
The main problems that I have with having the two teams, I like the concept of 2 teams racing to complete the series of objectives. I like that. I have a couple problems. One, there isn't a catch-up mechanic. There's not one like mid-game. Like I would much prefer if how you can control the dino, that needs to be mid-game and not closer towards the end. Because snowball mechanic is very real in this in this game. Secondly, I think we should be able to fight more often with the other team in the game modes where you actually have the PvP interactions. It's not until the very end you get one chance to fight the other team, and in a lot of cases, it really depends on whoever gets to the main ending area first, and then they can just obliterate the enemy because of the way the chokeholds are. There's literally one choke on each side, and you get funneled in, and the team's already there. You can't do anything. So I think there's some balancing there that can be done. Otherwise, it's okay in terms of a PvEVP mode. It's nothing, that's going to blow anyone away. I like the different characters, though. The exosuits are pretty fun. They all, like I said, very Overwatchy hero shooter standards, but they play pretty well. The game handles very well in terms of like aiming and movement. It feels very fluid. Nothing feels very jarring, jank, or anything like that. So I think 40% of the way through the story in terms of like unlocking the little data chips that give me the lore and the cutscenes and stuff. But yeah, so it's okay. Like I think they had the potential to do some really fun, crazy horde mode shenaniganery with dinosaurs. But there's just not enough engagement there to keep me, like, I don't want to keep playing past doing the story. Like, I'm going to play this game, I'm going to get all the trophies, get my platinum, and then I probably will not touch it again, even if they add content, because I don't know what they could add besides new dinosaurs. Which, it's like, okay, cool, new dinosaur, but that doesn't excite me enough to want to, turn the game on. And then I guess my final thoughts on the story. It's just boring. Like, the characters are not likable. They're not interesting. Your main character is silent, like doesn't speak. We don't know why yet. I don't know if it's an intentional thing. But when you have a character who is silent.
Hey, look, it's Ryan.
Yep. I guess, hey. when you have a character who is silent and doesn't speak, you have to have your supporting characters be the reason you were invested. They have to kind of carry the weight, and in this, they don't. um, so it's just I. It's mid. I think is the best way to phrase it. Definitely do not recommend this as a full purchase price point. It's on Game Pass. If you can get with some friends, download it, check it out, play through the story. That's great. Or if you want to pick it up with some friends on sale, I think there could be a lot of people enjoy that uh, with the multiplayer aspect. To squat up and just turn your brain off, mindlessly shoot some dinosaurs. Um, but for those who are looking at an engaging story with twists and turns that really make you think or want to be curious about the island, the lore, the characters. This isn't that. It's very cheesy, very corny. Um, so yeah, it's review in progress. I'm hoping to be done with the main campaign by the end of the week, and then hopefully can round out some final thoughts early next week.
I have two thoughts about this. Number one, I love the way the dinosaurs fall out the portals because they don't fall out and just land perfectly on their feet like a cat. No, some of them, they fall on each other. They're hitting the ground. They're like they fall on their sides. Like it looks like a mess. And it's halfway enjoyable just watching that.
It's almost like, instead of, when you think like, oh, it's an incoming wave of raptors, you're kind of like, oh, that's kind of serious talk.
See the video right here where I'm just missing everything with this dinosaur.
Everything.
I mean, literally,
it's very hard to actually land hits on them.
That was the first time I actually hit anybody.
Yeah, you did better than me, dude. I was a Triceratops and I got smoked. So, but yeah, like you're thinking waves of raptors, and you're like, oh, this is going to be intense. And then when you watch them fall out, and it looks like the one raptor in front tripped, fell, and if you remember, like the bicycle wreck videos on like the Tour de France and all that stuff, where if one falls, they just all kind of tumble. It's like that. And that kind of really takes the seriousness out of it when they just kind of all stumble out of the portals.
Like, hysterical.
Like I just got through doing a boss fight. It was the first like big boss fight. And it actually had some mechanics in it, which I was surprised with. I was not expecting mechanics for a boss fight in this game. But yeah, I think there are some bits and pieces in here that are really fun and well done. But there's just, for every one, there's two things that are just very underwhelming.
The second thought I had was, I haven't heard anybody describe it this way. I've heard the Overwatch comparison, but I haven't heard anybody mention this looks like a more of a Musu game, like a Dynasty Warriors, just with all the enemies that you have to fight, and what looks like how easy they are to juggle and combo and hit and whatnot.
You definitely
has some Musu vibes. It looks like
there are a few melee-based characters, and if you choose to go with them, it definitely can feel that way. Like the Genji character that I was using is very melee-based. There is a tank that wields a big katana and kind of has a really cool skill set with a counter, a grapple, kind of like from Sekiro, which is really cool. So when you're in the midst and you're doing the melee stuff, it definitely can, because the Raptors are kind of the cannon fodder of this game. The only time they ever really become a problem is if you're like me and you don't realize that there is a portal above you that the Raptors are coming out, and they just all kind of fall on you. And it's not that they kill you because of like biting you; it's because they took fall damage and you were the pillow. So It's definitely interesting.
Okay. All right. That's Exoprimal.
No one ever thought this game was coming out. I don't know if anyone remembers a whole lot about 6 Days in Fallujah. Uh, I don't know if Noah remembers this coming out. I don't know if you had heard a lot about it, Anthony,
Can
but
I tell you a funny thought that I had?
go ahead.
I saw it on Steam, released in 2023, and I thought to myself, why'd they re-release it? I really
So
thought
you thought it had already come
I
out.
thought it had come out a long time ago. I was like,
No.
wasn't this on like PlayStation 2 or something? Did they
So
remastered
what
it?
actually
It
happened
sounds like
is
one.
it was supposed to be coming out, I believe, on PS3, and it ended up Konami, with all the controversy behind it, decided not that they didn't want to put the money behind it.
That's right.
So the
That's right.
studio actually closed. In this, it actually got picked back up by a team I've not heard of before, Highwire Games and Victura.
I've heard of
And
Highwire,
yeah,
but not Victura.
but I mean, everyone thought, it was a very controversial war and whatnot and such. So you weren't sure this was ever going to see the light of day. That was the biggest thing with this game, and now it's in early access. At least the game is not completely finished. What you're actually watching, if you're watching the video version of this is a training mission that they have you set in. And what's funny is, for something that's a training mission, it really doesn't teach you how to play the game. It's more of an area to figure out how to play the game. In the sense of, you go in, you do things, and you're like, okay, I'm guessing. If you looked at the controls, then maybe you have an idea of what's going on. If but it just pretty much spawns you in as like, hey, just clear out all the I don't know what the word for the targets. So they've just got targets that are up there, and they don't even give you indicators of where they are. You having to go look around and find them in a time limit. So, as obvious as this is a military shooter, and I'm not even sure saying shooter is the right word, because it's almost more military sim would be probably the better word for it, because what you're doing is so much different than what traditional shooters do, and it's a very dark way that it does it. So they actually start off, both the fire team, before you start getting into the fire team mode, and before you actually even boot up the game, there is a almost mini documentary that plays, detailing, like, actually has people that were involved in the battle, and people who were there around the time dealing with some of this stuff, talking about what was happening, and the things that were going on at that time frame. So you really just get this overall sense right out the gate of, okay, this isn't, for lack of a better term, this isn't a Michael Bay movie. That's not what you're doing at all. It's not like Call of Duty, where they had that video. I'm sure most people remember the Ghost video of the breach, the two idiots, who were running through with the GoPro camera that they gave away with the collector's edition. None of that is here. Instead, it's a much more serious tone that is in this game. And when you go into these fire teams, some of the things that they tell you right off the gate is, they're like, look, you need to make sure that you're not running this through Discord for echoes sake with different things. You need to try and be running things through the actual game when you're doing the matchmaking, which is up to 4 players. And as soon as you spawn into the battlefield, you're behind a tank. You're going towards this area. You're supposed to be clearing out the people that are enemy combatants that are there, the terrorists that are there. And from the second you spawn and you're like, what the heck am I doing? And it's not a thing of like a this is bad game design, what the heck am I doing? It's this feeling of existential dread of there's no HUD, so I have no information that I'm going on here. There's not this like there's not a mini map that is directing me a certain way. This is a wide open battlefield that I am in. I don't know where the enemies are or where they're coming from. And I've got to figure all of this out as I do it. Which is, to a degree, what a lot of these men and women were dealing with as they went into this war that was going on. So I do have to commend the team behind it as they're managing to capture this intimidation, this despair that is on the battlefield in a really well done way.
I have to pause you there.
Yeah.
The only comms you can have is from your teammates, like who you're actually playing with, matchmade or friends.
You're not playing against any other. So you're not playing against anyone.
Right.
In your fire team missions. So what's really interesting is the way that they've done the comms is you actually have to press a button on your controller or your keyboard and it pulls it up as if it's going through they're essentially saying that you may have some issues if you're using like say Discord or something. But the way that they've actually set everything up is that it goes through a radio. It's like you're hitting the button on the radio on your chest and you are communicating. Everything that's coming through is almost like you are on the battlefield.
And so they're
trying to make this
predetermined phrases that you'll have.
Well, you can still comm regularly.
Oh, okay.
Like
okay.
You're still regularly comming. It's just that they're wanting to, I guess, narrow the way that you're comming. And like I said, it's just the way that they are kind of putting all of this together. Like none of you on the team knows what's going on. Which part of that is that the, and you'll have to forgive me if I'm wrong at all. But let me look up something real quick here. Because I want to make sure I'm saying this correctly.
Yeah, while you look that up, my concern is that the design of having everyone communicate with each other and figuring out where enemies are on the battlefield and making it feel so realistic, none of us, at least us normal people, have military training. So if I decide to play this game, I don't know phrases and call outs and ways to protect my teammates as well as myself from enemy combatants. Yeah. And my concern would be it might feel too realistic to the point where I will have very little success, or perhaps it will take a more, for lack of a better way to put it, but at least a relatable way, a more Dark Soulsy approach where you just have to keep trying and trying and trying. And that includes trying in the way you communicate.
Yeah. And that, I believe, is part of it to a degree. Is if you're going into this and you're trying to play it like Call of Duty, if you're trying to play it like Battlefield, even if you were trying to play it like Rainbow Six, you're probably going to fail, because this is a game where it's about the kind of the horror of the moment, in the sense that I don't know what's around the next corner. I don't know what's coming at me, and that's what these men and women dealt with. And I feel like that's very tough to make that work in a video game. So it's to a degree, it's impressive that they've managed to even get this far. One of the ways that they're doing it, and it's what I was actually looking up, is they're actually working with procedural architecture in this game. So they've developed a technology that it reshapes the entire battlefield each time you play the game, where it assembles buildings and city blocks procedurally. So that way, when you go into these fire team missions, because I remember thinking this when I spawned in like the second time, I was like, okay, this doesn't look like the exact level that I just played. And it wasn't that it was a radical departure, but it was enough of a departure to where I felt uneasy. So they figured out a way to keep you feeling uneasy, just like a soldier would if they were in this position for the first time. And like your cover isn't always perfect. You don't know where these enemy combatants are coming from. I remember going up these stairs and I had no idea what was around. And as soon as I get to the top of the stairs, I see a terrorist with a machine gun, like an actual like machine gun to someone who's going to suppress the rest of the team. And I had to, as quick as I could, duck and try to get back down the stairs. Thankfully, I was smart enough to have proceeded slowly, or guy would have just completely taken me out. And it is one of those games where you are gone in a couple of hits, which makes sense. That seems like it's probably the most obvious thing with it. And your enemies do go down pretty quickly. The thing, one of the things I noticed with my gun, and I don't know if I just hadn't figured out how to change it or whatnot, is the weapon that I was using was always single shot. And some of that is there is just so much weapon sway. There is so much going on with your movement and whatnot that you were just I did not feel very accurate most of the time. And that was something that was definitely differs from playing a Call of Duty where you can play these strafe kind of poke. You're not poking on this one. And that's just, again, I feel like it's a really good part of this game's design. And I think that's probably what I look at more as I've played this. And I still have more that I want to do. Editor-in-Chief Ron Burke, he's playing this with me a bit, or he's going to play this with me over the weekend so that I can get some of his thoughts on it, given he was actually in the military and dealt with some of this kind of stuff. But everything that they've designed works for this game. I don't think that you stick this as a Call of Duty, people aren't going to like it. You make this a Rainbow Six, people aren't going to like it. You make this with the tone that they set with these opening videos of what you were dealing with. I feel like they have set the expectation as soon as you boot up 6 Days in Fallujah of this is not just a traditional shooter. It is a dark take on on a military sim where you really are getting a feel on what it might have been like to have to proceed under the circumstances they had to proceed in.
The weapon sway that you talk about, that sounds great because it sounds like you said, in every aspect, they want you to keep feeling unsure. You go around the corner, you better have that gun under control. You better figure that out.
It's going to slow the players down.
Yep. Well, like I said, that's why it works for this game. Because I know not every game could get away with it. This is someone who, I cover the first-person shooter for us.
Yeah.
So it's that thing of you have to go into this, you have to go into it with an open mind, but it's also one of those things of this is just great game design in pushing the tone and the gameplay that you want to set up.
This is not going to be for the Call of Duty audience or the Rainbow Six audience or even the Siege audience.
And that's one of the reasons I brought up Rainbow Six is it's closer to this than Call of Duty.
I mean,
Call of
but
Duty's on the complete other end of the spectrum.
It's closer, but it's still so far away.
Yeah.
This is a whole nother level. Now,
Yep.
I don't know. Your weapon sway didn't look that crazy if you're watching by video.
But it's mainly the
He wasn't
strafing.
moving.
It's yeah. That's the thing is you're
you're
having
okay. I
to
see what you're
stop.
saying. Well,
Like
yeah,
you're having to stop.
Yeah. I wonder what the Arma community would feel about this game. Because I know Arma is...
This would be closer.
Yeah. I think Arma's the closest thing, if not maybe exact replica. I don't know. I haven't played Arma, but I know that is a military sim. So...
Operation Flashpoint was another one that was kind of the back in the day. It was more similar.
Yeah. I'm curious to know what they would think about this. I don't know. It sounds intriguing. I don't know if I'm going to play it. I don't know if I have time.
Have a full they do have a full campaign planned. So that is something that I'm actually very interested in because that's one of the reasons I've enjoyed the Call of Duty games is the campaigns and getting to see. But
you're not going to get anything like that.
No, as someone who was a history major, I'm very interested in just there's going to be a lot that is going to be shown here.
So I got a weird analogy, so follow me on this, okay? Have y'all ever tried beans on toast before?
No.
Have you heard of it?
As I am American,
yes.
No.
I've heard of it.
Okay. Yeah, I was having a discussion with a few people about this. Not a long discussion, but beans on toast is probably one of the weirdest concoctions I have heard of. Apparently, this is a British thing, and I can understand why people think British food is quite weird because beans on toast is a very weird concept. It's beans, which can be good, on toast, which could also be good. You put them together, you got something, but they don't do anything for each other. It's not like beans become better because they're on toast, or toast becomes better because there's beans on them. It's just... two foods slapped together, none make each other better. That's kind of how Granblue Fantasy Versus is. There's a bunch of mechanics in this that are in there that don't necessarily make it better, but it doesn't necessarily make it worse either. And I feel like it's so bloated because of these things and a little bit confusing. So there's just some questionable decisions in it. It's a fighting game, number one, based off a mobile game that was turn-based strategy, Granblue Fantasy. It was a mobile turn-based strategy game. They turned it into a fighting game, and they have what's called a grid system. And in this grid system, you have a main weapon, and then 9 other slots you could put other weapons and items in it. Why? I don't know. I don't understand the grid system. I have looked up videos. I have looked for facts to understand what the grid system is supposed to do. It makes you stronger, but I don't understand the logic behind how it makes you stronger. So you can autofill it with whatever the game decides, but people have said, oh, that's not the best way to do it. Here's some stuff you can do. Great. Can I figure out how to make my own decisions? Because nobody seems to be able to explain how the grid system works, which lets me know it's a very confusing and unnecessary piece of part of the game. And I haven't been using it, and I've been having incredible success without using the entire grid system. Granted, I'm playing on normal, but still. If I feel like I don't need your system, then it doesn't need to be in there. So and then it's loot based as well. Fighting games, typically, besides maybe like Soul Calibur specifically for the story mode, you have a weapon, whatever character, they have their thing, and you stick with the thing. But in this, you can get weapon loot or different items and things like that. Why? I don't know. I don't know what the point of it is, because even if you took that away, the game functions just fine. It just feels like a system based off of what it was before as a mobile game to feed the gotcha mechanics, but it doesn't need to be there. Not for Granblue Versus, not for Granblue Fantasy Versus. Maybe it fits more for the mobile version, Granblue Fantasy turn-based strategy mobile game. For this, I don't know. It doesn't need to be there. My gameplay situation has not been improved, or I'm not having more fun because loot is dropping. And I love loot. You guys know Borderlands, Diablo, all the Division, Destiny. I love loot. I am not impressed by the loot. I don't need the loot. It's fine without the loot, but it's there. It doesn't hurt the game, but it's not making it better either. It's just one more thing to click. There's a level cap on characters. And I'm not talking about a level cap as in you've reached level 100, you've capped. I'm talking about you reach level 20, and then you can click on some other stuff and infuse other things to unlock the next set of levels for yourself. Why? I don't know. It doesn't help the game. It's just one of those things, again, that I don't know why it's in there. It's not making the game worse, but it's not making it better. So it's fine, but it does feel very mobile game, like it came from a mobile game. The fighting part of it is better. It is a little better. So you can fight in the RPG story, which the story isn't anything to be, it's not great, but it's fine. I think it's worth playing through. It's short, 4 to 6 hours, or 6 to 8 hours, excuse me. But the fighting itself, it's got depth to it. Not quite on the level of a Street Fighter, but there is some depth to it. You can't just button mash and be able to get away with stuff. You do have to think. You have to think about your spacing. You do have to think about which attacks you're doing. But it is limited, and part of the reason is there are certain things that anyone can do that make you a little bit, let's just say crouch blocking, for example. Crouch blocking is extremely powerful because it blocks so many things. Part of the problem is there are no overhead attacks to counter crouch blocking. So most of the time you have to jump and do something, but jumping is predictable. So fights end up being a neutral game, footsies, kind of who whiffs their attack and who can counterattack the whiff and figure out the combo that will get their enemies. So to confirm this, I watched some matches from Evo. It was a game at Evo, and they are so boring. It's not that the players are boring, but the fight is so boring. It has the tension of soccer, but without the release. It's just tension the whole time, and you're waiting for the moment. It's like, can something interesting happen here? But I'd argue it's worse than fencing. You're waiting so much for something to happen, and the crouch block is just so strong. It is fascinating to watch them try to mind game each other into some combo, but there's so much waiting and there's so much tension. It's so boring to watch. You appreciate what they do with Street Fighter, because that game could feel slow to a lot of people, but that game is chess. It is exciting to watch. This is not. And then there's the story. It's weirdly paced. It is 5 minutes sometimes of dialogue, and then there are situations where it is clear they are trying to give you combat scenarios. So you'll be in a situation where they're talking about, oh, there's this big bad enemy over there. Okay, let's go get him. Oh no, enemies. So you go and you get into a sequence where you have to fight some enemies. You beat the enemies. Okay, what's going on with big guy? Oh, he's still there. Okay, do a little thing. It's not working. Okay, well, we'll try to do something. Enemies, and then you'll fight some enemies. And I'm exaggerating like how they come out, but it feels like that. Like you get to a scenario, it's like, okay, there's, oh yes, enemies somehow got in the way. Of course they did. Yes, let's go into a sequence. So it doesn't flow very well. It doesn't feel natural. It definitely feels forced in the way they create enemy encounter scenarios. It's not the worst thing in the world, but you definitely sense it. It's like, you could have done this a little better. I will give them this credit though. The voice acting, it's all Japanese, so English dubs, but sorry, not English dubs, English captions, all voiced in Japanese. Sounds good, like that. So that part was enjoyable. Enjoyed hearing the voice acting. Very good. Other than that, this is not what I expected this to be. I thought this was going to be a little bit better. And then I realized, this was a mobile game because it feels like a mobile game. It's more tuned for PC play. It does feel more advanced than mobile, but there are so many things in there that have come from the mobile version of this. And at the end of the day, none of it matters. None of it. Not one thing. And again, doesn't make it worse, but it certainly doesn't make it better.
So would you say if you're wanting to play a Granblue fighting game to just go play the mobile game?
I would say if you want to play a Granblue fighting game, play this. Play this. I haven't played the turn-based version of it, but if you do want to play something where you are in control of the character, this is a fine substitute for the turn-based version of that. I will give it that. I guess I'm set to go out to San Francisco and play the newer version of Granblue and check that out. So I am curious to know what kind of things they're going to improve on from what they've done with this, because things like no overhead attacks, that's weird. So I wonder if they're going to improve on simple things like that. Maybe better storytelling, maybe better transitional encounters with the way the story works. But yeah, we'll see. I don't know. There's something there. It's not like I'm not having any fun, but it's not as deep as I would like it to be and what I think it should be. I feel like they should take a whole bunch of stuff away and focus on making good fighting and a good story. I feel like it has that kind of potential where it doesn't even have to lean into the gotcha type of mechanics. They could just go full on like, this is story and you can do the fighting stuff, and then you have the versus mode. This is, besides Street Fighter 6, this is probably one of the latest examples of how you can combine a fighting game with a good story, decent story, as well as just the straight up fighting. So it just doesn't quite reach the heights that it can. And I think part of it is they're so busy messing with all the bloat that they've put in there, all the extra beans on the toast, or the toast with the beans. I don't know. Okay, Sony and Microsoft agreed to some kind of deal to keep Call of Duty on PlayStation. All right, that's the news. What I want to ask you guys about is Microsoft has been doing deals with Nintendo, Nvidia. Now they've done a deal with Sony. They've done deals with others that I can't remember off the top of my head. Those with Sony and Nvidia have been 10-year contracts. We don't know the length of the Sony
we
deal.
do. It's 10.
Oh, we do know it is 10.
Yeah, the
Okay.
Verge
So
confirmed it.
Okay, so it is 10. So, being that it's 10 years, to me, there is a level where I think maybe Microsoft believes that Call of Duty, with these 10-year deals, only has about 10 years left before it starts falling off. My gut on that is typically business people have a pretty good beat on the market that they're trying to reach. If you watch the stock market, doing all that stuff, they don't always get it right, but they do get a lot right, to be fair. And so with them specifically doing 10 years, yeah, it's probably long enough to satisfy the governments, but perhaps maybe it is also about, Call of Duty's only got 10 years left. We'll do that. By the time this 10 years is up, maybe Call of Duty isn't as prevalent, so maybe we can make it exclusive then. and people won't care as much. The next big thing will be out. Maybe it'll be from Microsoft. I don't know. So how long do you guys think Call of Duty has until it's less relevant? That's what I want to know.
I mean, I guess I'll go first because David's yawning. Um, I think that if Call of Duty, whatever level that they fall off, I'm sure that every other studio, aside from like Grand Theft Auto, would love to sell the units that Call of Duty will still sell, even if it does drop off, because it's just going to be an incredible number. I the before it starts dropping off, the best thing that Call of Duty has is there's the rotation of developers, and so let's say that you know they 1 year it's poorly received, if you want to call it that. What does everyone do? Hey, Treyarch's coming up in 2 years. Hey,
Yep, every
Infinity Ward's
time.
coming up in 2 years. Like it's that perfect. Like they're going to make them wait because their favorite developer is going to release their new game.
Happens
So
every time.
um, I don't see it falling off. Which it's hard to judge what's going to be. I guess relevant or how the industry is going to be in 10 years. That's a whole other topic of conversation. But I think Call of Duty, it will either evolve into something else or completely reinvent itself before it dies. Like I don't see Call of Duty just falling into obscurity like in a gradual state. I think that they'll stop before it gets too far and drastically do something to reinvent it, to kind of save it before the ship goes down, if that makes sense.
What in the world could Call of Duty do to drastically reinvent itself?
Becomes a first-person shooter MMO, a la Destiny.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I said, that's a question that I don't have the answer to.
That would be
But
fascinating.
when push comes to shove, they'll come up with something. They got 50 bajillion developers underneath their family that can pull together a Call of Duty.
And you've got these like you said, there's 50. It's not just that there's 50 bajillion developers; is that they've got some fantastic talent in some of these studios. I know everybody always jumps on Treyarch's the best. Treyarch does have some amazing developers. I mean, people forget these are the guys who. This is the team, not obviously the same exact team, but this is the team that's come up with a lot of games that we forget that they had a hand in. Treyarch had built Spider-Man 2 on PS2. People often forget that. Treyarch made one of my favorite James Bond games. I know GoldenEye is a favorite of many, but they actually did Quantum of Solace, which was very underrated on the Xbox 360. Treyarch is just the biggest thing is they've just made so many good games, and like Noah said, it's you fall into this. Oh well, Treyarch's coming, and people really hit on that. Treyarch's coming, and Treyarch they continue to make such good games that you can kind of count on that team to do what needs to be done. So I agree that in the sense of Call of Duty falling off, there will be some fall off whether they like it or not. There's going to be good and bad years, but man, like Noah said, there's a lot of people who would take a bad year for Call of Duty. I think it kind of falls into that same. I think it kind of falls into the same thing as Madden and FIFA and stuff does at this point. In it's that annual release that, as much as somebody might hate it, they're still going to play it. And Call of Duty keeps coming up with ways to keep people playing it. I'm not saying it's good. I'm saying they're coming up with ways to keep people playing it. so even if it's not good, they're coming up with ways to keep you buying it and keep you playing it. So I think that Call of Duty is going to stay relevant. in the space. Now, does that mean that nobody else is going to find a way to make something else? I mean, you've got your Apexes, you've got your Fortnites. There are other people in the space, and you may even get to some place. I mean, technically, one would argue Fortnite's technically bigger than Call of Duty now. I would say it probably is. But in the end, it's a mainstay in the space, and it's going to stay that way. Something, I forget who it was that said it, but somebody online said, with the whole PlayStation thing of they've got 10 years and stuff, we'll have to see if they would be willing to renegotiate this. Somebody said Sony needs to go like as hard as they can at EA and spend some serious dough to get them to make Titanfall 3 and make it exclusive. And I was like, if there were, I'm not saying that it'll ever happen.
But
if there were a game though,
I would love
that
it.
Sony could get that would compete with the Call of Duties.
No.
Don't give me hope, David. Don't give me hope, dude.
I would love to see Titanfall 3, but it has no chance.
It has the name quality to be able to do well. Because I still think Titanfall 2 fell into just bad timing.
I agree. You release it next to Battlefield, literally 1 week before
between Battlefield and Call of Duty. Yes,
absolutely.
Yep, it was
ridiculous. But no, Titanfall does not have the power of, not even close.
I think it could.
Call of Duty, not even close. No, I love Titanfall, even with the Apex community. Like, there's a reason why Apex has taken off and Titanfall has not. I love Titanfall, and I would play it. I would love the frick out of it.
Quality, yes. Power, no. I think it's the best. Like, in terms of quality.
And maybe I could say it even better. And it could get there. If there were a game that could get there, I could see it getting there.
I can't see that.
In terms of a arcade shooter that you can boot up, drop into a game in a couple minutes with your friends for an hour or so gaming session, there's nothing that on the market now that could ever compete. It would have to be a new IP or something. But if there was a pre-existing IP or game that could get anywhere in the ballpark of Call of Duty, it's Titanfall. That's
well, that's more what I'm getting, because there were some people saying, well, they should get Battlefield. I'm like, no, Battlefield doesn't have that power. Like Battlefield
is a totally different type of game. Well, yes,
Titanfall
Battlefield has
the arcade. Yeah.
But let's live in a world where Battlefield 2042 was good from the beginning. Battlefield is just simply a different kind of shooter with different expectations than Call of Duty. It is a little slower. It always has been. It always will be, and it always should be. But the sell of Battlefield is huge battles with all kinds of crazy vehicles and destructibility. The Call of Duty audience doesn't care about that. So they're not ever going to switch to Battlefield over Call of Duty because Battlefield cannot deliver the speed, the pace, the compactness that Call of Duty can have. Titanfall can. The problem with Titanfall is that it's a little more technical than Call of Duty. That's the only, and it's a big reason, but it's the only reason why the Call of Duty audience would not carry over to Titanfall. All the wall running stuff, the double jumping, the going from leaping and doing all that stuff, the zip lines. That's too much. It's too much. Just put me on the ground.
I don't know. Right now, all the Call of Duty community wants to go back to jetpacks. So,
well, okay. So you bring up an interesting point. I feel like there's fatigue with Call of Duty right now, and yes, we've been feeling that, but even more so now than I feel like than before, which is part of the reason why I wonder about the 10-year contract. World War II didn't work. Gulf War is rumored for the next Call of Duty. Give me a break. You really think the Gulf War is going to be the setting that draws people in? Like nobody cares about it. I'm sorry. In the history books, in the classrooms, we didn't hear about the Gulf War. We heard about the World Wars, and we're tired of the World Wars. So what did they go to? Future warfare, Black Ops. Um, they go to maybe more current day ish kind of uh, war with modern warfare. The only names at this point for Call of Duty that matter are Modern Warfare and Black Ops. At some point, those names are going to fall off unless they turn Modern Warfare, which is what I think I should do when Modern Warfare 2 came out. I said they should turn it into some kind of soap opera. Like, just lean on these characters that we all love and take them through all kinds of battles that will absolutely follow them through. That's the only way I see Modern Warfare carrying on. Same with Black Ops. Otherwise, those
They've kind of
settings,
done that, admittedly.
they have, which is why I got the idea. They should just keep leaning into that and just roll with it. But with Black Ops and Modern Warfare, if those are the only two names that will hit consistently, at some point that will also fatigue. I don't think other wars are going to be as interesting for the audience that Call of Duty serves at this point, which is not the original Call of Duty audience when 1 through 3 came out. So I am feeling that Call of Duty does not have the same shelf life as a Madden or a FIFA. And part of the reason for Madden and FIFA is the fact that those are real sports and they're both the biggest for their specific areas. Football, biggest in America. Football, biggest for Europe. So they are the biggest long-standing games there. Call of Duty doesn't have that backing it up.
I think as long as the gameplay and the way Call of Duty feels and plays stays at the level that it is, I think that's mostly what matters. I think we might, again, you can only do so much with World War games, with futuristic titles or futuristic settings and stuff. It'll probably, I would almost predict us going back into if they run out of ideas for the war settings, the quality of the campaigns will start to degrade and people will forget about the campaigns, kind of like what they've done with Madden, that whole storyline thing. And then we'll get to where there's no campaign and it's just like the circle. We will have no campaign and then people will be begging for a campaign and they'll be able to go right back to Modern Warfare 2 setting, current era, World War 2, add a campaign back in and people will praise it.
Well, they've talked about. Well, who was it that talked about? I may be just thinking about. I was talking about the other day of just maybe it's time to like cut a couple things off because Call of Duty right now is everything to everyone and it's a problem. Like we're not getting quality in some areas because they're too busy trying to do the next thing. Especially if you're a 6v6 player like me. One of the things I pointed to was ranked mode. There was a map change every season of Cold War in the pros. That they changed a map literally every season. And it kept it real fresh. We've seen one map get added in Vanguard, and that was because of necessity, because Control was literally, they had two maps that were viable, and they had to add a third map because of competitive integrity, because vetoes didn't work. if only one team could veto a map. And then you have Modern Warfare where one map changed the entire season. So, there's some things that are just, and I understand certain priorities shift in different ways as time goes, and you go where the money is. But I'm kind of surprised they haven't gone the Call of Duty mobile route, which is, it's kind of that thing of every cool map is in that game. And almost every gun that exists in Call of Duty is in that game. Like it would almost be great to have just a multiplayer version of Call of Duty that is just the best maps of all time in one game that is just constantly updated.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, the only thing that will ever kill, we'll use that clickbaity word, kill Call of Duty, is Call of Duty itself. I think it's kind of like Destiny. The only thing that will ever kill
I
Destiny
agree.
is Destiny itself. The only thing that will ever kill COD is COD itself. It's if they don't keep the level of quality and content that got them and the innovation that got them to where they are, if they don't keep up with that, then it can drop off. But that's on them to figure out how to keep us engaged. They don't have to do, you know, reinventions every year, but they can't keep, if they slowly decrease in quality, the games will eventually start to suffer, and so they'll have to figure out ways to, you know, twist that knob to, get back on the increasing side of things. So it's definitely going to be a fun thing to watch, that's for sure.
I don't think the Gulf War is the play.
You
It's
can
all
make
ab-
it work just like Cold War does if you invent your own conflicts inside of it.
We'll see. Cold War had some success, but
It's like, David, name
So-
3 battles of the Gulf
well,
War.
well, and see, that's the fun. That means that you can make it work for you, because if things are more vague and stuff that people don't remember, you can make it work with the characters that people love.
we'll see how good this is.
Just going to let the trailer speak for itself.
Yeah,
That's what-
yeah,
that's
I
gonna
am
be
okay. Let's watch it.
live reactions.
A lot's happened in the last 10 years. It's a miracle I'm even sitting here now. I got a second chance. And I'm gonna take advantage of that. But I need you with me, Pete. We're gonna heal the world.
Like how he's having that conversation at a football
Pete.
field. Remember the Titans feel.
Love how Miles is upside down.
I saw that
while
bridge.
My best friend Harry. Hey,
Hi, Harry.
good to meet you.
New job, huh? Still gonna have time for tutoring?
We'll figure it out.
I didn't know there were bears in these woods.
I love that quip.
Hey, MJ. I have another name for you. Craven. He's here on some kind of hunt.
No, if you need me, I'm just a call away.
Lee, you don't know what you took from me.
All Miles talks about is how to be a better Spider-Man. How to help you.
What the hell's going on with Pete?
He's not himself. Go help him.
This was our dream. I'm not going to lose him.
We're going to heal the world.
Gasp.
The smile that was on David's face was priceless.
It's
Smiling the whole
just-
time.
The music behind it is so good. Like they've contracted great people to do the music behind it. I'm Spider-Man. I was, I think, 12, 13, something like that, and rented from our local library the comics, the original Spider-Man comics, like one of the volumes. And that's kind of, I just fell in love with the character, and just getting to see all of this just in place, going straight to Venom. Venom's one of my favorite villains in the entire Spider-Verse, and getting to see kind of this black suit Spider-Man transformation. The character Tony Todd is killing it with the Venom voiceover, and just how all of this is going to work together. I'm just very excited. The first game I have the platinum on and love the game. And looks like we're going to see Miles confronting Mr. Negative, who, spoiler alert, killed his dad in the first game. So just very interesting things and how all this is going to go.
I was really hoping whenever Miles said you took everything from me that Mr. Negative was going to pull the I don't even know who you are. Like,
The Infinity War.
The Infinity
Thanos
War.
thing. Yeah.
It's perfect opportunity for it.
Well, I mean, I can understand your excitement, David. That was a good trailer. That was a good trailer. I do not have the same anything when it comes to Spider-Man. I didn't read any of the comics. I haven't been able to play any of the games. They're on PC now, so I'm going to eventually pick it up and play them. I did play a little bit of Miles Morales, and that felt great. So I know
it's fantastic.
I know this game will feel good as terms of the game, but I am interested in the story as well. The dynamic between this version of Peter Parker and the dynamic of Miles Morales trying to be and remain the good guy and kind of the middleman between Venom and Peter Parker Spider-Man, I think is an interesting plot point. Again, I don't know much about the comics. I didn't play the first games, and I didn't beat Miles Morales, but I am intrigued by that dynamic. I want to know what happens, and they've done their job.
Yep, I don't believe that dynamic's actually been in the comics. The Peter's going through this with the suit, and Miles has to be part of the solution to help him to get away from it. And that to me is
wonder if
a very
it'll work.
interesting idea. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
because
where
one of the things they show is the creeping up from together, and then all of a sudden the electricity from Miles.
From Miles,
so it's going to be very interesting to see how all of this happens. Also cool that they announced they did show off the collector's edition, the statue and everything at the Comic-Con panel, as well as the collector's edition or the collector's PS5, limited edition PS5. And probably the best news that we got from the entire thing, and I know Noah and I are having the conversation about it as we were going through, and Noah was like, and watch, they're going to make us pay for an entire PlayStation 5 to have all of it. No, they are actually selling the plates for the PlayStation 5 and the controllers separately. And while that will cost a decent penny, it is easily shows what the future of collector's edition consoles should be. Because as someone who had to sell his Xbox One to get the Halo edition Xbox One, and if I would have traded it in at GameStop, it would have been probably $200 to $300 of a change. Instead, I sold it to a friend and managed to make that a little less. But then I went and traded in my original Nintendo Switch to get the Zelda OLED, and that cost me over $200. Knowing that I can get on PlayStation Direct or go to GameStop or whatever and buy this at probably a little over $100, maybe $150, that's a really nice feeling. But even nicer is knowing that I don't have to switch out hard drives. I don't have to reset my console and then go and reinstall all kinds of things onto a new console or go through any of the setup or anything. I just switch out the panels and boom, I'm done. Like, that is just such a nice thing, and something that, like, I know it's easier said than done, but if Xbox could come up with a way with this, if Nintendo could figure out a good way to do this, where it's not this doesn't void your PlayStation's warranty at all. Like, this is actually just part of the build of it. Like, it's just a really good idea, and I'm honestly very surprised it took them this long to do this. Like, this is 3 years into the PlayStation life cycle, and these are the first outside of Japan, because Japan did get the Final Fantasy plates. But this is the first set of plates they've sold. Like, I'm really surprised there wasn't God of War plates, at least last year. Like, I could have seen Horizon. Horizon is a big enough idea, but I'm really surprised that it took this long for Sony to put out a set of plates.
Well, I thought they originally weren't going to do plates.
Well, they D-Brand, which is the people in the space that they are constantly kind of mouthing off about the whole thing of we're making something that and we're doing it differently enough that you can't sue us. It's kind of how they've built everything. They were ones who originally were making plates, and then Sony did file something against them, and they had to very heavily change the design. And from that point, you're like, okay, Sony is apparently doing something. And then they did the different colors. So they did go ahead and do colors. It's just the whole special edition. I would have imagined special edition plates would have like game themed. Like
Licensing, yeah.
These can't be that expensive to make. And you're definitely, yes, is it stink because people aren't buying a console off of you? Sure, but like, this to me is kind of a no-brainer because you have to be making a decent profit off of literally just printed plates.
Oh yeah, for sure. But I think the disc-less PlayStations they are making a profit of, correct? And then the disc ones they're not. Is that right?
Possibly, yes.
I
So
that,
I mean, if anything, being able to
was.
switch out plates is a better way to get things in consumers' hands. Like,
well, if we
without
remember
spending
too,
the extra money to build a whole console.
Yeah, if we remember though, in general, accessories is what sells the most for consoles
Always.
anyway. The controllers,
highest
and all
margin.
that.
Yeah,
yeah. So this just becomes part of that financial sheet.
Yep. And it is available for both consoles. They're doing these plates for the disc and disc-less versions.
Mm-hmm.
So they are thinking about
everybody.
Yeah, which myself, I have both. I have a disc version and a digital version downstairs, so I'm probably going to get this for my digital version because my digital version has regular plates, and my upstairs version has the regular red controller one that they did earlier this year.
How does switching plates off of the disc version work?
It's real
got
easy
the
because
hardware in it.
Well, the plate is just still over the top of the disk drive, so it just slides off. Yeah, it's a cover. It's still just like a cover.
I thought it was like inside. I don't.
Oh, okay. No. It's actually just a cover over the disk drive slot. So
the ones I've seen have been disc-less. So
gotcha.
The digital versions.
That's how it works. It's just
okay.
It's a little bit wider, so that's why it's and it has the hole for the disc still, so that's why it has to work that way.
Got it. Okay.
But the other reason I've thought about doing the digital is I actually have the Spider-Man PlayStation 4 Pro down here, so it'll look real nice next to that PlayStation 4 Pro.
I need a sound effect for every time David drops some sort of like show off moment.
Yeah.
I don't know what, but
hey, that has cost me a lot. So
yeah.
I don't know how much it's showing off as expensive as it's been.
I don't know how many people who would watch this know about the DVD screensaver. Maybe I wonder if
The Office.
I wonder if there's a 10-hour YouTube video of the DVD screensaver somewhere.
Someone's done it. Someone
has done it. Noah, can you look that up real quick? The YouTube DVD. I don't know if you can. Maybe David can. Now I'm just curious. That would be fascinating. Because I think 10 hours is the longest you can do that.
Yep, there is 10 hours no loop.
That is.
What's interesting is there's one that actually got uploaded a year ago.
Wow.
Someone did an 11-hour stream of it. 24/7. Sorry, 12
fantastic.
hours. Yeah, DVD Screensaver 24/7. It was streamed 2 years ago.
Oh, they didn't quite hit 24 hours, but they got to 11. That's still respectable.
Nice.
I can't wait to see what like algorithmic suggestions our YouTube homepage is going to be now that we have searched DVD screensaver 10 hours, because we know the algorithm and it's, you know, all of its glory is going to give us very interesting search suggestions now.
Next week, we should get an update on that. What did your YouTube front page look like? Screenshot it. Make sure you.
I'll give it a day to let the algorithm be like, all right, we got him now. He's won DVD screensaver 10 hours.
Yeah, screenshot
He's
it.
going to go on
Amazon
Amazon and they're going to be trying to sell him a bunch of DVD players.
I'm going to put that in my notes right now. Next week, screenshot DVD homepage, YouTube. There you go. Okay. Xbox Live is now Game Pass Core. Okay, so what you know is Xbox Live, that's gone. Nothing changes about the service except the free games that you get. It's not 3 or whatever the number was a month anymore. It is just, or 2, 25 games predetermined for a month. Will typically be Microsoft Game Studios type games, but it costs the same. $10. So we have Xbox Game Pass Core, we have Xbox Game Pass, we have Game Pass Ultimate. Should Microsoft have just discontinued this tier instead of rebranding it?
In all fairness, they already weren't giving away games in that with gold. Like, it was such trash. They might as well not have been giving away anything. So,
well, that's my point. So, okay, you get 25 games. All these games included are in Game Pass. So,
yeah, it's not like you get exclusives.
It's still that whole idea of there are people that for whatever reason don't actually want to subscribe to Ultimate. So they just want to play online. So this is them trying to, honestly, a lot of it, I believe, is them trying to pull those people into Game Pass Ultimate, because you're giving them a taste of a 25 game library and the idea of, oh, so this is what's available.
Okay, David, let me sell you on this real quick. For $10, you could get access for 25 games from Microsoft's library. For $1 more, you could get access to nearly 100, if not over 100 games on Game Pass console.
But then I don't have online membership, so you lost me there because I only play Madden online.
Wait, Game Pass doesn't come with online anymore?
Game Pass Ultimate is the only thing that ever has. Is the only thing that comes with Xbox Live Gold. Regular Game Pass for $10 or $11 now, it never came with online ever.
I've always subscribed to Ultimate, so this is news to me.
Yep.
What? I swear
that's why Ultimate was Ultimate.
Oh yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah, I'm trying to remember the.
Trust me, as someone who sold it for a long time at GameStop, I know.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair. All knowing from GameStop. Okay, so that's the difference there.
Yep.
So if you were to get Game Pass for console, you have to pay for Game Pass Core as well. Okay. Well,
I mean,
I guess
it's not. I'm assuming with them doing this, it's not going to cost them a ton to do this. And if they can get, a small percentage of people to sign up with not really putting a lot of effort into changing up this particular tier, I mean, there are a lot of other streaming services that are doing these like lower tiers, and they're seeing some success with it. And I can imagine, since it's all including, or they're only including stuff that's for the most part Xbox Studios and part of their family, they don't really have to put a lot of money into it. And if they can make some money off of it, that's free profits for them. So I mean, I don't necessarily think it's like a revolutionary, like, oh, that's such a good, great change or idea tier. But at the same time, like, if it gets them some money, I don't blame them.
If it pulls people in, that's the way I look at it.
I think you
If it
guarantee it's going to give them money.
yeah, because I think it's gonna pull. I think it'll pull the people in who are already paying that. Essentially, it'll pull some of those people into Game Pass Ultimate.
I wonder if it will have the same effect as Xbox Live did when it originally launched, where it pretty much felt like, because of the library of games that Microsoft had, Halo, Gears of War, Forza, all these games that thrived on multiplayer, that you felt like you just had to have Xbox Live. I wonder if the fact that you still need to have Xbox Live, because that's the library of game Microsoft carries, is so many multiplayer style games, and Fortnite is one of the only ones that you could play off of Xbox Live, that people will feel like, I might as well get Game Pass Ultimate for $3 more.
Especially like if they play, they try it out, they like the library, but they're like, hey, I'd like to do the online, or the other stuff. And then Xbox pops up that, hey, you can upgrade for just this, this much more a month. It's a lot easier to do that way than trying to get them to, from the beginning, sign up for Ultimate.
Oh, the business.
In any case, it's better than the absolute garbage that they were giving away for free.
That's true. That is true.
And I say that not as a hit at the games. It's just, I mean, we were really scraping. They were scraping the bottom of the barrel on what they were offering.
Well, yeah, all the stuff that was part of Game Pass were leaps and bounds better than what they were offering for
we
gold,
knew where the money was
and for
going.
good reason. Yeah, and for good reason. PlayStation Plus absolutely destroyed what you would get with Xbox Live Gold.
Stomps them. I just got Black Ops Cold War and Alan Wake Remastered this month.
Yeah.
And something else that I can't remember what it is.
Rarely would you get anything like that from Gold. I don't remember the best game that they've had. There was maybe 3 significant releases. Maybe Tomb Raider was one of them at one point.
That was back towards the 360 time, I feel like, is when you got the best stuff. Like, because I remember getting like Crackdown and stuff like that.
I have a lot of that stuff too. All right. Well, that will do it. That was a good one, boys. It's fun.
Woo.
So, next week, you two will have the day off, because I will still be here, because the tabletop guys will be back for their Gen Con coverage. So
nice. Awesome.
Yep.
Can't wait to see all the cool tabletop stuff that we get to talk. Y'all get to talk about.
Yeah, they convinced me last year of some cool tabletop games. They showed me this one, Cat in the Box.
Nice.
Still haven't been able to play it with my wife yet. We've been very busy, so that's why it's still shrink wrap. But it's sitting right in here. I'm ready to play it. So I just need to find the time. And I need my daughter to get a little older. I don't want her eating the small pieces.
Oh, no.
So,
Cat
she's 2 now, but she still gets a little curious with things in her mouth. So, yeah, that'll be fun. So enjoy your days off. We'll be back next week. There's going to be some good
we will
stuff to
probably
talk about
be playing Call of Duty.
I know. Y'all better come back with some games. Set yourself up ahead. All right, y'all got 2 weeks to play a variety of stuff.
For sure.
Gotcha. Comes back. Call of Duty.
Yeah. I've been playing a ton of Diablo 4.
We got you, Anthony. Like winks. Like, we got you.
Yeah.
What's funny is I think the new season of Call of Duty is the day before the next podcast we will be on.
Well, to be fair, Diablo 4 Season 1 started today as of this recording. So I don't blame you if you play that, because I will probably be playing that. But the next time we meet, I will be talking about Street Fighter 6. I can't wait.
I already have a game to talk about for the next podcast. So.
Oh, good.
It's Call of Duty.
Of course.
It's Doll of Booty. It's a parody.
All right, that'll do it for us. We'll end on that note. Deuces.
Peace.